Calling to order.
I feel so powerful.
All right. Notice is hereby given that the Animal Advisory Board of the City of Alpine, Texas will hold a meeting at 6 p.m. For the purpose of considering the attached agenda. This notice is posted pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act. Action items approved at this meeting will be considered by the City Council for final action. We do have a quorum tonight. And are there any public comments? Not here for a public comment. All right. Can I get, has everybody read the minutes of the previous meeting, January 9th?
Make a motion to accept the meeting.
All right. And do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you, everybody. No public hearings. Okay. In your packet, we have had first I want to recognize that Charles is here tonight. He's going to answer all of the questions that I can't answer. Jennifer's out of town. But after our last meeting, Jennifer sat down with two of the areas, one of them being definitions and the other one being, I told Charles today it was 10.118. He goes, which one's that one? 10.118 impoundment and destruction. And she did a bit of clarification. I hope y'all had a chance to look through them all and see what it is. Nothing that's going to stand out. I think if you look, like adequate shelter means a sturdy structure, and rather than to provide the dog protection from inclement weather, have a weatherproof top, bottom, and sides. So just a lot of clarifications. I'm going to give you a minute to read the first one on adequate shelter and see if you have any questions.
I have two
Okay.
typos there.
Oh,
Not
well,
questions.
we can fix those.
Number 2,
Uh-huh.
adequate shade, the second to the,
Yeah, it needs to have an E.
and then in number 5 on the second line, and to sit, not sight.
Second line. Yep, no E on that.
And that's all I remember. I read these when I first got them.
Okay.
Going back through. What does number 7 mean?
Provide suitable means for prompt elimination of excess liquids.
If they make a potty, they can if they pee, they can
Oh,
run out.
okay.
Well, there's also a little bit of the rain and West Texas wind blowing it right around.
Okay.
Any other questions on adequate shelter? Okay. So then the next one is altered animal, means the animal having been spayed or neutered. And then I think on the next page, we talk about what an animal is. And rather than all of that, we say every living non-human creature. A lot easier than all those other words. Any questions on that? Okay, current vaccination means vaccinated and satisfying the following. Must has been vaccinated against rabies with a vaccine licensed by the USDA for the species at or after the minimum age requirement using the recommended route of administration. And it must be at least 30 days have elapsed since the initial vaccine, and the time elapsed since the most recent vaccination has not exceeded the recommended interval. And you can see what that's replacing.
And should that be on the first line, that vaccinated against rabies with the vaccine licensed, the D?
Yep. Licensed. I'm circling these, Geo. I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you.
Any questions about the intent there? Charles, you had a chance to read this and it was adequate to you too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, looking at this from, I'm gonna pretend that I'm stupid.
Uh-huh.
I'm there.
That's okay.
I'm there.
Uh-huh.
Should we put something in there, what the minimum age requirement is? 'Cause I know they cross out three months of age, but
I think that's to allow it to be, it's set by the USDA, isn't it? And that's going to allow it to float with whatever the USDA says. Am I reading that right?
16 weeks.
It's the state of Texas. It's the Texas Veterinary Board says that.
The animal must have been vaccinated against rabies with vaccine licensed by the USDA for that species at or after minimum age requirement. And we don't say what the minimum age requirement is. I was thinking USDA said it. Set by Texas law.
Texas Veterinary Board.
what is it?
Texas law. It depends what the species is.
So that's why I don't think it's in here. I think we're wanting to make it evergreen a little bit so we can float with whatever.
Would it be veterinary discretion at that point, or it's kind of?
Well, I think we need to say if we
Well,
do change
especially
it.
on rabies, there's requirements by the manufacturer for it to be the most effective. It has to be given at a certain age
Okay,
for the first time. And then.
What?
Yeah.
but if we can't put 15 weeks, I mean, I think we need to say that it applies to the minimum age requirement as
Texas law,
Texas law,
because you're not specifying a species.
right?
Could be talking dog, cat, ferret, or
Sports cow. At or after the minimum age requirement as determined by Texas law. What does that sound like? Because rabies is in the Texas law, it's in the occupational code.
I've always depended on when my veterinarian told me that. My dogs or cats needed rabies shots.
That was like 6 months or something like that.
I know they're
Well,
not
and there may
old,
be-
I don't remember.
Remember, these are only definitions.
Yeah.
There, and when we get to if you looked into the ordinances deeper, it may have a little bit more clarification in the ordinances. I'm happy to add as determined by Texas law.
Okay, this says the state of Texas requires that dogs and cats be vaccinated against rabies by 4 months of age. Must be administered by a licensed veterinarian.
And which is that the Texas occupational code? Because that's where rabies lives in the state law.
PSHStexas.gov.
Department of Health and Services.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. Well, I know
You
the,
need 12 weeks is the state board says 12 weeks, so I mean, Texas law.
probably covered. And I know when we started talking about this, we wanted to keep it evergreen. We just wanted it to be able to float with whatever, as other things, Texas law changed, so we didn't have to go back into the ordinance every single time.
Right.
And that was kind of the concept. So,
especially here for definitions, where you're
Yeah.
just defining what is a vaccination.
right.
Vaccination means, then I would leave it as it is. Possibly maybe stating that, you know, that set by Texas law.
Texas state law.
Texas
law.
state law.
You might even quote the state code in the definition there. Just to kind of link, but otherwise don't, you know,
Yeah,
no age. This is
Yeah,
just defining.
I'm gonna say is determined by current Texas state law.
That sounds good.
And then that covers a lot of stuff. All right, you good with that one? Good question. Anything else in that section? Okay. Okay, going to wherever, okay, enclosure is the next one. Means a building or other similar structure that is fully enclosed with roof and sides to provide a degree of protection as well as preventing the ability of escape. And that's clarification from, does not include a yard or fence. Any problems with that one? All right, euthanasia means putting to death of an animal in a manner and method which causes no pain or distress to the animal. And is in compliance with the provisions of VTCA. By the way, there's another one here. If you want to follow along, you're probably wondering, oh, that wasn't meant to happen. In compliance with the revision of the VTCA Health and Safety Code, which is the Vernon. Geo told me what all that was. Shooting firearms into a pen or enclosure containing multiple animals is prohibited. God, and shall not satisfy the requirement under the definition of euthanasia or humane destruction of animals. Lethal injection. And she's crossed out efficiently operating carbon monoxide chambers because those are forbidden now. Shall throughout this chapter be presumed to be the method of euthanasia. And euthanize means to kill in a humane manner.
And I had to look. Vernon's Texas code is annotated.
There you go. Thank you. Anything in there? Anybody wants to say anything about? Okay, moving on. We crossed out food. Seems like we don't need that definition. And we crossed out, humanely destroy means to cause the death of an animal, so I think we covered that in euthanize.
Yes.
Right? And keep or harbor means to have charge, custody, or control of an animal. And we've crossed out within the house, store, yard, enclosure, and put property. And kennel means any premises in which 4 or more dogs or 4 or more cats, 4 months of age or older, are kept, or where the business of buying, selling, breeding, grooming, training, or boarding of cats is conducted. The term kennel does not include veterinary hospitals or animal shelters. And that's the clarification, because everybody thinks Humane Society does it all, and it's
Yeah.
really the animal shelter. Anything there? All right, well, the next one is owner, and it's onerous. Owner means any person who owns, harbors, keeps, causes or permits to be harbored or kept, or has in their care an animal or bird on about their premises, or any person keeping, harboring, having charge or control of, permitting to habitually be or remain on such person's premises any animal for a period of 3 consecutive days or more, and that is that is our standard now, 3 consecutive days. And Jennifer and I looked at that, and neither one of us liked how onerous owner was, so I went to some other ordinances. New Braunfels says an owner means any person, partnership, or corporation owning, keeping, or harboring 1 or more animals. An animal shall be deemed to be harbored if it is fed or sheltered for 3 consecutive days or more, or if it returns to a residence or business on 3 separate days. El Paso says an owner means a custodian, caretaker, or person who feeds or harbors the subject animal, which now I think is starting to sound like a legal thing, for more than 72 hours without said animal being identified as a trap, neuter, return cat. Persons caring for an animal at the specific request of an owner are not included in the definition of owner, but are required to keep the animal in compliance with this code. I personally like the New Braunfels, but I like few words,
I actually like what you already have.
or that too, if you're good with that.
I am, but
Yeah, I like the.
You like what we have? Lauren, Mary Ann, what do y'all think?
Yeah, I kind of tend to be like less wordy myself, but. You know,
I don't think there's anything in the current owner that bothers me.
Yeah.
Other than, I thought it could have been said easier,
okay.
but, having to go in and, it's a minor thing. It still says the same word it's intended. Keep as is?
Yeah, I
Yes.
like it.
I'm
Okay.
fine with that.
All right, good deal. It's the only thing I found.
Going off script here,
Yes,
the next one for pet animal. Can we condense that to like canine, feline? And then since we have guinea pigs, hamsters, mice, those are all rodents. Can we just condense that to rodents?
Or could we say pocket pets? Cause that's what they call all
Yeah,
those
do they?
guys. Yeah,
yeah,
that would encompass anything from like a flying,
Sugar glider.
yeah, sugar glider to a snake to a
something like that.
guinea pig would all fit
So
that.
like saying
so it'd be
Canines,
canine, feline,
fowl.
birds, or pocket pets.
Yeah, fowl, rodents, and looks like reptiles too.
Yeah. Reptile. Okay, pet animal means canines, felines. I like birds.
you don't want to change it to fowl.
Pocket pets,
Avians or-
yeah,
And you have to define pocket pets.
I wonder.
'Cause I don't think mice in my house are not pocket pets.
You already can put like a,
Rodents,
Rodents.
pet rodents,
Pet rodents.
Yeah.
And pet rodents and reptiles.
yeah,
Yeah.
pet rodents. Pet rodents, what are you finding, Mary Ann? You finding some good definitions?
Well, cause a ferret could be a pocket pet, but they're not a rodent.
pair in my pants.
And a chinchilla could be a pocket pet, but I don't know that it's a rodent either. Let's see.
Ferret's not a rodent,
Ferrets on the weasel family.
the weasel. And we don't list ferals.
Ferrets.
Feral ferrets.
Feral ferrets there.
There's no, I'm not trapping that.
Yeah. Pet animals should also include any domesticated animal that a person owns or that is sold or offered for sale for the purpose of being kept indoors as household pets. Wouldn't that cover it?
That way.
Cover chinchillas and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pet animal means canines, felines, birds, pet rodents, and reptiles, period. Pet animal shall also include any domesticated animal that a person owns or that is sold or offered for sale for the purpose of being kept indoors as a household pet. Tarantulas,
Fish.
fish, yeah. So you feel like it's better to say canine, felines, birds, reptile, and pet rodents, just get a few words out of there?
Say that and also put the blanket on other animals that people like, well, what about this one? You're like, well,
Yeah.
that falls.
All right, okay, everybody good with that change? Don't read ahead anymore now.
Sorry.
Kidding.
My bad, you back it up.
It's like I'm ready to
I'm
go.
progressing, not regressing. So.
All right, believe it or not, unless somebody wants to look at some other definitions, that's all the definitions that have been changed.
Wasn't there something in the last one where they were talking about trapping a wild animal and the wording was like trapping the wild animal and killing it, and it was like the word was like kill or
Yeah, that we took euthanize, I think we changed all the kill words to euthanize,
okay.
yeah. Wild animal means any non-domesticated animal in the definitions, but you'll see when we get to 10-118, we took out kill.
Okay.
That was a little brutal,
Yeah, I remember that. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
yeah.
It was a little rough.
We also had the word disposed of.
I know, I hate that.
Yeah. Anything, do y'all want to take a quick look through the definitions and see if there's anything else in definitions that you think needs some attention? Oh, I didn't read the exposed to rabies. Means an animal which has been exposed to rabies either by being bitten by another animal or has been in contact with any animal known to be or suspected of being infected. All we changed there was exposed to rabies if it has been bitten by another animal. We said either by being bitten. Just getting some words out. And nuisance is another one which comes up a lot, means disturbing the peace, emitting noxious or offensive odors, or otherwise endangering or being offensive to the environment of the city. Maybe we don't need to just have that in the animal ordinances, no. And own means to keep, harbor, or have charge, custody, or control of an animal or fowl. There's fowl. I bet we can say fowl with the birds too. I'm a bird lover, so. Anything else in any of the definitions? I'll be quiet and let y'all look a minute.
Is there a section in the
Ordinances?
ordinances that has what is accepted at the shelter? Or is it because it just says no person shall leave any animal in the shelter except an animal services staff member is available to accept the animal? Is there like any circumstances where you wouldn't accept the animal or?
No, not really. I brought in a bird eating tarantula, brought in snakes, rabbits and chickens. The
Rooster.
livestock is about the only one I've actually had to contact and kind of use vet clinics or the Hilltop.
Oh, it has up livestock?
Yeah, to hold bigger animals like that, but I think Jennifer told me one time a gentleman walked in with a fox that he had pulled out of the dumpster.
Oh,
That was alive, and I think, we handled it. Unfortunately, foxes are high risk for rabies, so that was quickly sent off for testing to.
Doesn't Parks and Wildlife do wild animals like that though?
Yes,
They're supposed to.
yes and no. I do a lot of times contact game wardens for assistance or request like how I should go about some things. But typically they kind of just, they tell us, hey, leave it be. And so if someone was to bring it to it, or if someone mostly calls us to say, hey, there's deer, skunk, we may trap them, we may tell them to leave it be. Injured deer, we've gotten permission to, take the step to go ahead and humanely euthanize the said hit deer or and such. And I mean, one time I was in Monahans and my police officers accepted 3 baby owls. And I called
Wow.
the game warden and I said, "What do I do with these?" He said, "Feed them every hour, on the hour,
Oh, wow.
and if they die, it's on you. Or you take them to A to Z in Midland." I turned to my lieutenant and said, "I'm going to A to Z, bye." I took off.
Yeah,
So, yes, we work with them, we talk to them a lot, but a lot of times people just show up at our door and say, "Hey, I've got this." And we assist, provide assistance, education, whatever.
I'm no
we need
longer
to do.
trapping skunks, you know.
Yeah, oh, I mean, been trying to just kind of swing away from that too, less trapping of them and just more deterrent of, hey, tell them to go away.
yeah.
I'll see if I can get nod at for you.
Yeah. So,
Charles, I trapped this for you.
so really, it's the one about, don't leave anything tied to the doorknob. That's about all we have.
Yeah.
And then we do define wildlife, we define wild animal, we define exotic animal, we define livestock animals, we define. That's about it that I can see.
Where is our closest wildlife?
It's mostly A to Z in Midland, as far as the rehabilitation. I do believe that, there are 1 or 2 around here that would help with the deer that need, like I think we've had 1 or 2 baby deer that need
Right.
to be.
There used to be a woman in Marfa who did birds too.
Okay,
Yeah,
and so I think that's mostly there. I really definitely turn to Game Warden and say, "Hey, who do you have in your area right now?" And they'll direct me, or they'll come by and pick it up from me, or we'll send that person out to come get from me.
They have to be a licensed or
Yes,
under,
because they
the-
definitely have to be a license.
under the
Like, I
umbrella of a
don't just go around
license.
saying Tom, Dick, and Harry
Right.
and say, "Hey, want to keep it here?"
well, when I was at Grand Companions, we got the baby birds brought to us and it was like, no, we don't do baby birds. You need to contact a certified wildlife specialist. And we had her name. I want to say it was Mary Farley.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't know if that's right.
I didn't know if they're like cut off with like, okay, we'll take this, but as soon as you cross this line, we don't take
Right.
it.
I mean, buzzard, he said, "No, take
Yeah.
that."
Yeah,
Actually, I worked for several years for Wildlife Rescue and Rehab in
Yeah.
Central Texas. And we had some buzzards over
Right.
there. Yeah. We had some that had, were injured to the point where they had to spend the rest of their lives there.
Yeah, wow.
okay, moving on from definitions, unless anybody has any more. Let's look at 10.118, impoundment and destruction. We really worked on C, and what we did with C was really take it and line it out and clarify it a little bit. So where it says animals eligible for redemption, not redeemed within the following hold period shall be eligible for adoption, transport to other rescues, or euthanasia if applicable. And there you have 3 days if owner is unknown and found within the city limits, 5 days as owner is known, found within the city limits, 5 days owner unknown, found in the county but outside the city limits, 7 days owner known, found in Brewster County but outside of city limits, 10 days found outside of Brewster County, which Charles tells me that is the time limits that they use now, right? Correct?
Yes.
Where before we had all sorts of things, transferred to any competent person. And you can read what's been lined out and see if you agree with that being lined out.
No, it's very wordy.
It's wordy and I get lost in it. My eyes hurt. So I like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but that's
I don't like the word destruction there. Impoundment and destruction.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
There have. I get that too, but there have been a time or two where we have a very sick pet. And when it becomes ours, we have to make the decision of, especially if it's not reclaimed, Can it be saved? We've had some animals that were very hit by car, sick, and, or just, I'm
Really sad.
I'm just
Yeah.
really looking for another word. That doesn't appear to, and I looked,
disposition.
Yeah,
That is a word we use at the shelter, use in a lot of our little bylaws there.
I
The
like that
impoundment
one
and
better.
disposition
and
would be actually a pretty good term there up front.
and I
because-
don't know if we can change that word. That's the crazy stuff.
Okay,
Okay,
Yeah, we can add to it, but I don't know if we can remove, but I will defer to the voice in the sky if we can change that to impoundment and disposition rather than destruction.
because especially when if you were able to say disposition there,
Yeah,
that does open up again how it was worded here. The animal being, I think in the next part of, once not, oh yeah, right here, when not redeemed within the following hold period, it's eligible for adoption, transportation, and other rescues or euthanasia.
Right.
if applicable. So there's a disposition, it doesn't have to be destruction, it can be
yeah,
rescinded on to
and.
a healer to a Blue Healer Foundation or something like that.
And if you look on D, we took the disposed of and changed that to euthanized on D right below there. But Texas, one time we sat here and we were like, can't we make these more real word, real word, oh God, I can't even talk today. Real world words, and we started kind of going in there and it was no, you can add to it, but you can't take away. So if we can, we'll take away and put disposition rather than destruction. Okay, so D, maybe euthanized prior to the hold times listed in above after reasonable efforts to locate the owner have failed, and there's no apparent reason for the following continued suffering of the animal, which is what Charles was talking about. They may be euthanized prior to the 72 hours from the time of impoundment if upon notification of impoundment, the owner states they do not wish to redeem the animal and releases the animal in writing to the sole jurisdiction of the City of Alpine Animal Services Department. I know I saw where we had the word killed here and we took that out. Slept since then. And then again, to James, no person shall leave any animal at the animal shelter except when an animal services staff member is available to accept the animal. So the only change we have there is if we could do impoundment and disposition rather than destruction.
In the Alpine is lowercase.
Where are you?
City of Alpine.
City of Alpine. I just noticed it reading that.
I'm sorry,
On the cases, it actually doesn't matter because the codifier matches the style of our existing
Oh.
code. So you don't have to really worry about uppercase and lowercase. They'll fix it. And most of it, just FYI, is lowercase. There are a few things that are uppercase, but again, they handle that for us.
great. And do you know if we can change section 10-118 to impoundment and disposition rather than destruction?
Yeah, that's fine. You can recommend that, huh? And
Okay.
then, of course, City Council will consider that as well. I don't see any reason why they would disagree.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Voice in the sky. Anything else in there? Give everybody time to let it.
I have a kind of clarification question for him.
Uh-huh.
So I know because we respond to a lot of car accidents. And the last couple car accidents we've had, have actually had dogs in the vehicle. For medical emergency, does that constitute as a medical emergency,
Yeah,
a car accident?
the car accident to me does.
And then with that, I'm guessing that the animal can't stay in the shelter longer than 10 days after the accident. But is there a charge for the owner to pick up their dog because of the accident?
I think there is.
What I'm saying is that we do have for home and vehicle due to seizure, arrest, or medical emergency, which a car wreck would be a medical emergency.
Right.
That we are all impound fees are paid in full. Yes, so we are charging on that.
And we had a young man a terrible wreck out on 67 about a year ago, and he was in the hospital. The dog ran away. We got the dog, and he came to pick up the dog with his parents. And I don't remember there being a big deal about paying the impound fees. I'm sure they must have been paid, but I think it can be waived in certain situations.
Yeah, like, well, I don't know, how we want to go about continuing that. I know at one time same day pickup, we don't charge.
Right.
I'm trying to remember the cases I've had where I did have medical reason for seizing, having the dog. I think I've had where it was mostly same day pickup. We kind of, a family member came up and picked up the animal. Our impound is $15.
A
I tell
day.
everyone for the bed and breakfast.
Yeah, well, and that's probably, the parents came with this young man, and chances are they paid it, and I wasn't paying attention. He was so overwhelmed to get his dog back, and I think he had a traumatic brain injury, so it was kind of huge for him. But mom was with him, and
And then it feels kind of bad, but there's some of those, I went to an arrest where vehicles going the wrong way down the one way, very much influenced. And so the individual was arrested, the chihuahua was sitting there in his little pillow, not realizing that he's got to be removed from his throne, but the owner came and picked up, next after getting out, and they
he
paid
came
it.
and picked up his chihuahua
Yeah.
and paid his $15.
And paid the fee.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Well, and we also very much work with officers of said accident or arrest, and we get contacts, emergency contacts, so the dog isn't sitting there for 10 days waiting for someone to get out of the hospital or get out of jail.
Right.
We start
Well-
immediately contacting friends or family, especially when we contact the jail and say, hey, who do you have for a friend to come pick it up?
And that last sentence in that, we just added because we ran into the problem where we couldn't find anybody for the dog, and there was all this upheaval. So the notice will be sent by certified mail during that 10-day period to the last known address with the intention that the animal will become the property of the city. We had to have some cutoff because there was nobody that came and got this dog, and we didn't have a way that we could say, okay, dog is property of the city now. And that's where the certified letter came in.
And it very much helps us with that. That ends
Yeah.
our prolonged days, gives us a very much, we attempted contact with you, covers our butt very
Right,
much.
That's
right.
usually what happens when, like, often in veterinary clinics, when people
Mhm.
board a pet or leave it for medical and they
Yeah,
don't
come
come back,
Yeah,
you have to have that certified
you
letter.
have to have this cutoff. All right, anything else in 10-118 that makes everybody sit up and notice? Okey-doke. Seeing no more discussion on that, we are gonna pass these tonight, but before we get there, the next meeting date of the Animal Advisory Board is scheduled for July. Just so everybody knows, July 9th. Now, we may not meet, there may not be any reason to meet, and then that will be the last one of our fiscal year, because the year ends in October. And I didn't know if anybody wanted to set one after that, or we just wanted to see if July 9th happened. And if it doesn't, then we can set it when we have our first meeting of the new fiscal year. I was hoping that we could, if it happens and these action items are passed, we probably wouldn't have any reason to meet on July 9th.
I
unless-
may not be in town.
For July 9th, yeah, and most of us won't be.
Where will you be going?
Months upon. No,
No,
I'm laughing because my day was open, so. Where are you all going?
Great
Maybe I-
Smoky Mountains
Oh,
National Park.
fun, fun. Well, and usually we don't meet in the summer because of exactly that. I mean, but that's where our calendar ends. And then we pick it up for the new budget year. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. If we meet on July 9th, if not, we'll defer it.
We can play it by ear.
Play by ear. All right, so that takes care of our discussion items. Since we have gone over these ordinances, I'm happy to entertain a motion for the ordinances.
I'll make a motion to accept the ordinances.
Thank you, James.
Second.
And I got a second by Pat. All in favor?
I,
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you, everybody. Any board member comments? I have that as number 8. I've never had that before. Anybody want to make a comment about anything?
I think we're all doing a bang up job at this.
2, I'm proud to serve with you. Any concerns that you're seeing in the community that's something that you think we need to address in the ordinance setting?
I get on my daughter's Facebook because I don't have one, and there's several groups. And a lot of people are really complaining about the amount of loose dogs that are roaming. I mean, every day there's somebody's dog getting out. Sometimes it's the same dogs.
It
Other
distresses
times
me.
it's sad
I get
because
upset.
there were 2 out by going towards Marfa, and one of them was hit by a car.
So that-
They did locate the owners, but the dog had to be euthanized. And I see dogs in my neighborhood, and I understand that dogs get out of a yard. But it just seems like the last 2 months, maybe 3 months, that it's just really increased. Now, I don't know whether it's really increased or people are posting it on those sites to where it's getting more publicity and, people seeing it, or what.
Do you think it's increased?
Sometimes I feel like there's a little increase. I do know I've had my repeats called dog's name that loads up in the truck
Yeah.
for me.
The regulars, yeah.
And I do see where I have ones working on their fence. Others that have a fence, but the dog pulled the boards off the bottom of the fence.
Oh, yeah, I've had
And-
one of my dogs, actually, they would take their paw and just bust the picket,
Exactly.
which is why he never goes outside unless he's on a leash,
Yeah,
because the big dog can do that.
yes.
And a lot of people won't put in a hot wire, which is usually a pretty good deterrent. It deterred my daughter.
Exactly. That'll get our attention.
I- That's
Pretty
not
much
in
it
our
is
ordinances, no.
Having people take their time and actually prevent. I know, like, I don't have the means to set up a electric, but I went around and put cattle panels down on the ground so that my dogs wouldn't dig out. One of them became a master digger and have a crater where he would
Well,
escape out.
when we had Michael working with us, we had a kind of a standing offer to help people with the materials and the labor to repair.
That's what we
And
need.
nobody took us up on
I
it.
know it. I know, I was about to say, many animal services, animal control officers carry equipment to repair fences. But
It's-
they
it's-
don't get a lot
Well,
of
and
takers.
I don't have, or someone doesn't want, don't have, either I don't have the time. I get them back
Mostly.
to the yard, they secure them in the home, but
Yeah.
they need to have them in the backyard because they're going to work. I have there are a couple that spend most of the homeowner is away from home for 12 hours a day. Because they get up in the morning, they go to their job. A lot of the jobs out here take them to Terlingua or Marfa. They're not working in this town. They are working outside of this town,
Mhm.
and that's where the dogs are bored. One is a very social dog that wants to be very social, so she gets out and she's out at Dollar General, scaring everyone to death because of her breed. But when you
German Shepherd.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
chased 2 chocolate labs all over the north side of town.
I know, but those are-
Usually,
I do.
yeah, usually you can,
That's my problem, Charles.
usually you can start driving behind them, they take you home.
And
These
so-
didn't.
yes, I was gonna say, some of them take you for the loop.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to.
I do
trying
that
to
in my
lose you.
neighborhood all the time. We have no animal control in Doyble Diamond, and I'll turn my car around and I'll point my car to them and boop, they book home. And I'm kind of like, okay, good. And I've done it with, I know the dogs out there that get out.
I would never leave my dog out all day long when I'm gone.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, I know where they are all the time. Now,
We-
watch, I'll go home and tell them, open the door and come out, but
Yeah.
And you know,
Well,
the
no, actually,
biggest
the
problem,
door for Trash off.
they sleep when I'm
Dogs
gone.
don't do
I
that.
call all the time when I see loose dogs, but the dogs keep moving. And animal control goes out there, they can't find the dog. And that's why I stayed on those chocolate labs as long as I did, because I thought eventually the animal control officer would come. But no, I got tired. Animal control officer were busy. Whenever you get a loose dog call, you're probably never gonna find the dog. Ever.
About 60% of the time, no.
Yeah.
I am told there's a dog at the corner of Soros and 10th headed west, and I'm like, and the west it goes.
And west it goes. This one, the chocolate lab, I posted on Alpine Friendly Pets. The owner said, "Thank you very much. Oh my gosh." And then
I do know that that does help with some. I
Yeah.
do have where that's not always helping to post it on Facebook. Yes, posting on Facebook, giving us a call helps. I had seen for a couple of times where people were posting on Facebook of animals that got hit and had passed, and no one called me until 5:30. That I then went out to, like, so some of this Facebook stuff is, they're spending too much time on it.
I
And they
agree.
need to, yes,
Pick up the
post it,
phone.
but also call.
yeah,
And
I
yes.
always call APD.
Dispatcher may sound a little overwhelmed because they were just got off talking to James about some fire thing, or
Yeah.
we're talking to officer who's trying to sway someone from slamming doors on people. And but please call, and they record it. We then have a call log. We can present,
give your
what's
name.
going on, what's happening around here, and we can show, hey, we're getting calls. It helps.
But I do think they're getting reported more on the Facebook, because I noticed it too.
And yeah, there's more reporting on Facebook than
Mhm.
has been on calls to us.
Yeah.
And I would
But
also,
I do notice that a lot of the people say, have you called animal control?
yeah.
Or
yes.
call animal control, you know, when somebody's missing a dog or the dog's loose,
Yeah,
but
Give us a call, give
the
us.
person that has the friendly German Shepherd that's bored,
Yes,
they need to get somebody to go over and visit with that dog.
it is, and that's the thing too, of like, we don't have ordinance, we don't have a way of, and we just tell people, hey, try this instead of that, and give these little, change up your patterns, is what we tell people, because what you're doing now is not working.
When I was in college, my best friend and I had a brother-sister pair of dogs that were Rhodesian Ridgeback and Dalmatian. They were beautiful dogs. But we were going to school, so a friend of ours who was a stay-at-home lady, we took him over to her house, and she had a little Chihuahua cross dog that bossed those big old puppies around and
Yes.
taught them manners. So they literally got to go to doggy daycare. But I mean, that
Yeah.
wasn't what it was called, but
No, it's just a little.
it was,
But yeah.
and it helped us out a lot, and it helped those dogs out a lot.
I haven't seen too much, I've seen a few people ask, but I've never seen anyone advertise
No, I haven't either.
and I think that would be, that should be a thing out here because we have so much to go out and explore, and but then there's also so much work to do in this town that, to have someone who's not too busy, especially Soros students,
Yeah,
where they just need a quiet place to sit and do their work, and then they can look over and check on the dogs.
right. That'd be a good job for them.
Although I will say it is very much not always a plan A or a 100% thing. We've had dogs that we put in the shelter because they were at large, and 3 days later, the owner shows up and says, hey, that's my dog. I had so-and-so come over and care for my dog.
But they did.
Well, you better get your money back from me.
Yeah, they didn't do a
They
good
didn't do a
job.
job at all.
Yeah.
Just talking about that.
All right, that's it for tonight. I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for all the good comments and get into the little words and the big words and the long words and the long
This is
sentences.
nicely done and easy to follow. I thought,
I
when
thought
I read
was
it, when
too.
I first got it.
Yeah, I was pretty excited when I got it while I was in New Zealand, and I didn't read it until I got back, so.